Thank you for joining us on this special streaming report. I am Sydney Schofield. We want to give you a look at a live picture from some local police agencies. They are expected to provide an important update about the Old Trails fire. We're hoping to get that shot up for you. That news conference is expected to start here any minute now. We'll bring it to you live. It looks like it has begun. Let's listen in.
I'm going to share some information with you. About 5 p.m. this afternoon, we executed an arrest warrant and search warrant in the city of Spokane, and we took 37-year-old Aaron Farnacci, a convicted felon, into custody on a single charge of arson in the first degree. About 3 o'clock this afternoon, an arrest warrant affidavit and a search warrant affidavit were presented to Judge Zamblin. She signed the arrest warrant and set a $1 million bond on Mr. Farnacci. Mr. Farnacci is currently in custody and being interviewed by detectives from our major crimes unit here in the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. This investigation began at the beginning of the fire on August 1st. Thankfully, we had some very aware and alert citizens. They were driving into the area where the fire started near Euclid and I'm trying to remember the name of the street. Old Trail and Euclid. The witness, a citizen, very good citizen, noticed a male standing on the side of the road looking into the trees as he was going to pick somebody up. About 10 minutes later, as he was coming back through the area, he noticed the male was bending down near some grass. At that point, the male stood up and looked very nervous, according to our citizen witness. At that point, the male walked away. The citizen returned to their house. A short time later, after being at home, they saw smoke coming from what they believed was the area that they had seen the male bending down by the side of the road. The witnesses there did a fantastic job of returning to the scene. They contacted an Airway Heights police officer, gave that police officer a description of the suspect, including a physical description and a clothing description. That description was broadcast to units in the area. And be mindful, at the time, this was a very active, very early stages of the fire. So officers and deputies in the area were focusing on getting people out of the area to protect life as a first priority. Mr. Farnacci was contacted in the area about 1.5 miles from where the fire started and was detained, questioned, and ultimately released after being identified by our citizen witness. Mind you that a lot of the details that have come to light during the investigation were not known to the deputies who detained Mr. Farnacci that day. But because of body-worn camera evidence and reports, when major crimes detectives started investigating that early yesterday, they were able to identify him, and working with investigators from the Department of Natural Resources and major crimes detectives in Spokane County, they were able to identify him, develop probable cause, and determine that the origin of the fire was indeed exactly where the witnesses had seen Mr. Farnacci kneeling in the grass earlier that day. Our detectives worked with our prosecutor, Preston McCollam, this morning to make sure that we had a very solid case to present to a judge today. And again, as I said, the judge signed the warrant at 3 p.m. and we had him in custody at 5 p.m. with the assistance of our SWAT team's warrant assistance group. This was fantastic and very quick work by everybody involved. As it happens in so many critical cases, it was citizens who were paying attention to their surroundings, being aware and willing to step up and say something that led to the relatively quick apprehension of Mr. Farnacci. Mr. Farnacci is a convicted felon out of the state of Arizona. He has a felony conviction for manslaughter and a preceding arrest in the same case in premeditated murder in the state of Arizona. I will say that we had a lot of cooperation from fire investigators and other people involved in this case, and we will make sure that he is this investigation as it goes forward. And by the way, it is a continuing and ongoing investigation. We will be looking into any other crimes Mr. Farnacci may have committed in the past. We will also be looking into other charges that may come about as the facts and circumstances of the Old Trail fire come to light and come to be known. Just know that this charge is what we have probable cause for right now. It is a serious charge. It is significant, but these charges may change as the investigation goes on. And again, other facts and circumstances come to be known. I'm going to turn the time over to Prosecutor McCollam here, and then we'll have questions after that.
I don't have a whole lot more to add to this. Part of my purpose in addressing each of you is to indicate, again, this is an active and ongoing investigation. To the extent that the public could have information about Mr. Farinacci or about any other involvement, we are asking for the public to provide that input. As the sheriff pointed out today, it was through the diligent work of vigilant citizens who were noticing things that were awry in their community, who were noticing things that were different, who actually reported it, and who took the time to engage with law enforcement and make sure that the necessary information was shared. And so, as the sheriff indicated, our major crimes detectives have been working very hard and very diligently. Detectives Craig Cupo and Detective Mike Drapo have been working frankly through the night. They've been on this till early morning hours this morning, and then started working first thing with my office as soon as essentially the sun was coming up. So they've been working very diligently, but there's still a lot of information to collect, a lot of information to go through, and the community is able to provide a lot of that input. And so we are asking for your help, that even amidst all the difficulty and the struggles that we're facing as a community, that we are sharing and communicating with law enforcement your concerns, separate and apart from this case. Especially right now, especially during these summer months when we have red flag warnings, when we have the weather conditions that we presently have, we need to be vigilant as a community, vigilant as neighbors, as a neighborhood, and make sure that we're being responsible with our actions, but also reporting things early, whether it's to fire or to law enforcement, and making sure that they can respond, appropriately. And so there was a lot of information to pour through in this matter, and it's still very much an ongoing unfolding scenario, and what we've presented at this moment is what the sheriff has largely described. We do have a case filed. There'll be a first appearance at a minimum tomorrow, and we will proceed where the facts of the case, the evidence, and the law permit us to. Yes.
Alex with the spokesman. Can you say what you believe the suspect was using to start the fire?
We believe it was matches or a lighter. When he was detained in the early stages of the fire, he was found to be in possession of some waterproof matches and a butane lighter.
Can you say if this was near the railroad tracks?
I personally can't say. All I know is with the help of the DNR fire investigator, we were able to say within 10 square meters where he was seen as where the initial fire was started. The fire investigator was also to testify in these court documents that the fire was consistent with being set by nothing other than a match or a butane lighter and igniting grass.
Is that why there's pink tape around that area right now? Or
I have no. I mean, if it was an active evidence scene, it would not be. It would be with crime scene tape or things like that. So.
Can you also spell his last name?
Farinacci, Farinacci. Again, first name Aaron, Aaron. Middle F as in Frank. 37 years old. We had another question.
Oh, I was also.
You're typing.
For name
Yeah.
spelling.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else?
I have more. So I actually was on North Government Way. I had to race down the hill when the fire was coming towards me, and there was a man walking on the side of the road, and someone had come down from the hill and tracked down a Spokane police officer and pointed this person out. And I witnessed, I think, another agency pull him over, but it didn't look like a police officer. It looked like a fire investigator or, a park ranger. I'm just curious if you had other people in the area that were being tracked down, because I guess I'm just wondering if this was the same person or any description of what the suspect was wearing at the time or where he was found, because I was on that road, and I just want to confirm.
Yes, well, we did have the description that was put out to everyone. The incident you're describing, I have no independent knowledge if it was related at all. As you can imagine, there were probably a lot of people contacted for a lot of different reasons for, either going through roadblocks or doing other things. But I am unaware of Mr. Farinacci being contacted at any other time, so.
Do you have like a description of what he was wearing at the
It'll all
time?
be in
It
the,
sounds like you have a description of what he was wearing.
it'll all be in the PC tomorrow when it goes
Yeah.
forward.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is there any indication that this could have started any of the other fires in the area, or was this specifically the Old Trails fire?
This is specifically the Old Trail fires only. Yes, ma'am.
And so I know he has the previous arrest for premeditated murder and then the felony conviction for manslaughter, but
Yes.
do we know if he has a history of intentional fire setting?
We have no documented criminal history of intentional fire setting. And again, we will be, investigating past behavior as a part of this investigation and the ongoing investigation.
Okay, and is he a Spokane resident?
Yes, as far as we can determine right now, he is a Spokane resident. And I will say, as part of our investigation, Mr. Farinacci has been contacted regarding arson-related behavior, although no previous arrests or convictions.
Okay, and are you able to share where he was found that half mile away from where the fire started?
What I can tell you is, when he was contacted, it was about a mile away from where he was originally witnessed.
Okay.
So
Do you know how long he's lived in Spokane?
I do not know. So.
Do you have a
Garrett.
motive? Did he say why he did this?
Again, he is in custody right now. And I know he made statements when he was detained about we didn't know the whole story or something to that effect. And that, again, is in court documents as well. And again, he is currently being interviewed. Last update I got.
Sorry, and he was arrested on suspicion of what?
First-degree arson.
I'm sorry, so he'd said to you all, you don't know the whole story?
To the deputies who detained him, that was a statement he made. And again, that is in the charging affidavits.
You said first appearance was going to be minimum tomorrow, correct?
Likely, yes, it will be tomorrow. Barring any disruption to court services or anything like that, during an ongoing, disaster.
Do we know if he was living in the area burned? Do we know if his home made it?
Where we took him into custody was not, it was about 4 miles away from where the actual burn was started.
Okay.
So not necessarily in the area. And we do know the witnesses we talked to have seen him in the area before, and was known to walk in that area.
So we don't know why he was there.
No, other than being on a walk.
Any other possessions he was found with? Firearms?
No firearms.
Any drugs? Any?
No, ma'am. Otherwise, he would be charged with that. So.
Okay, is that it?
Can you describe his condition when he was detained the first time or the second time? Like, did he appear to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
None of that was mentioned in any of the reports, and he was arrested today without incident.
Is that it?
Okay, we're going to talk about drones real quick, kind of a
Oh.
separate thing, and I don't know if this has to be live streamed or anything like that, but I don't mind if you do. I will say within the last couple of hours, our air support units, our air firefighting units had to be grounded because we have had drones flying in the zones that they are restricted from. I have said it several times today, and I need to continue to re-emphasize to our public. There is a specific zone that they are not allowed to fly drones in. No drones at all. We had 4 cases where we had drones directly yesterday in the path of firefighting apparatus from the air. We have cases that we have referred to the FAA for $100,000 fines each for being in that zone because they are actively disrupting firefighting efforts. We have an FBI task force for counter-drone measures here in place. We have a task force officer here from Spokane County who's federally deputized, and 7 deputies from King County here using the same equipment that we used in FIFA to do counter-drone mitigation. They are here. We are taking it very seriously. We are contacting several people, including media outlets, who are flying drones in this restricted area. We are done playing games with this. We have fires that are growing, and our firefighters need all the help they can get. It is going to become very, very serious, and they're going to get very, very weighty penalties from the federal government if they continue to do this. We're done giving warnings for this. So for the members of our public, members of our media who want to fly drones, there are proper channels to go through to get authorizations to do that. The public won't get them. Media can sometimes get them. Make sure your paperwork's in order for our media, and make sure for our private citizens, stay out of those zones that are restricted. You will be contacted by our law enforcement teams if you're flying drones there, and we're done playing games with it.
I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what does it mean to be flying in restricted space? And a lot of folks think that, well, we can send up a drone and try to get photos and see what's going on in the neighborhoods. But if you putting up that drone puts our emergency services at risk, you put the pilots at risk, you put any crews at risk, you also hamper the ability to actively engage the fire. You hamper their ability to drop fire retardant, to drop water, and that really hampers operations moving forward. And so I'm here to say that it is not worth it to your fellow citizens, to our community members, so that you can have photos, okay? And so we need to be able to make sure that our emergency services have priority over that space. So to the extent there are criminal charges that can be brought, they will be brought. To the extent there are penalties that the federal government can impose, they will be doing so. Because right now we're fighting for our community, we're fighting to save certain areas, certain homes, and it's just not worth it to have pictures. And so our encouragement to everybody is do your absolute best to refrain from sending those drones up. If you're seeing them in a space that's restricted, please let law enforcement know, because if we have an air crew come in and then they go down because they connected with the drone, that's simply not worth it. And so I'm just asking that individuals think about that before they put something in the sky that puts our law enforcement and our emergency services at risk.
Real quick, Chief. Chief Ellis is the head of our air support unit who deals with this. Did you have any further comments you'd like to pass along, or any wisdom?
I'd just say, the TFRs, or temporary flight restrictions, are published by the FAA. It's on their websites. It's a requirement of any drone operator to check those TFRs before they launch and make sure that they're in full compliance of it. The saying is that if you're flying, firefighters can't fly. So, it's a very serious issue, and we want to make sure that we can protect this community.
Yes, sir.
Could those penalties rise past that $100,000 fine if this continues to start happening? Could we start to see arrests or even larger financial penalties?
There's potential for that, yes.
And again, all of these task force officers, they are federally deputized with the FBI, so they do have arrest authority from the federal government. And again, if this keeps happening, we will exercise that. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you coming in on short notice.
Thank you.
All right, we are just coming out of that press conference with Spokane County Sheriff John Nowels, Spokane Valley Police Chief Dave Ellis, and Spokane County Prosecuting Attorney Preston McCollam. So the big news today is there was an arrest made, an arson arrest in connection with the Old Trails fire that was started over the weekend. They say they've arrested 37-year-old Aaron Fernacci in connection to that. He's facing a first-degree arson charge right now, being held on a $1 million bond. It looks like he will likely appear in court as early as tomorrow, although we do know that there are some issues with the fires causing some issues with some delays in our court system right now. So that is a possible delay that he could face, but it does appear that he will be in court tomorrow. Sheriff John Nowels was telling us today that it was concerned citizens, alert citizens who saw this take place. They saw who they say was 37-year-old Aaron Fernacci. They saw him near where the Old Trails fire started, which was in the area of Euclid and Old Trails. They say they noticed a man standing there kind of bending over. They noticed he was acting sort of suspiciously. And then not long after that, they saw smoke coming from where he was bending over in the grass in that area. They reached out to law enforcement, gave a description of both what he was wearing and and his physical appearance. And not long after that, he was contacted by law enforcement. They spoke to him for a while. They let him go. They said they didn't have enough evidence or enough information at that time to continue holding him. But later, they did make an arrest. In fact, they went to a judge today at around 3 o'clock. They got an arrest warrant signed. They served that arrest warrant today at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. tonight, and they took 37-year-old Aaron Fernacci into custody on first-degree arson in connection to starting the Old Trails fire. They did also say that he is a convicted felon. He has a felony conviction for manslaughter out of Arizona. He doesn't have any criminal history, they said, of arson that they're aware of, any documented criminal history of that. Although that charge was out of Arizona, it's unclear how long ago he was a convicted felon related to that manslaughter charge. He is a Spokane resident now, although the sheriff is unclear on how long he's lived here in Spokane at this time. The sheriff did say that he was very grateful to citizens for keeping a close eye on what's going on and reporting it when they saw a concern. We will certainly keep you updated on that case as we learn more. We did also find, or he did also disclose today in that press conference, that Fernacci was in possession of waterproof matches and a butane lighter at the time that they contacted him. They do believe that that is how the fire may have started. They said the fire start is consistent with that. So certainly we will keep you updated. Now, the sheriff did close out the press conference by talking about drones and issuing a warning in no uncertain terms about flying drones in the areas under temporary flight restrictions. He said, very simply, they're done playing games with this. They will issue $100,000 fines per violation. They're reporting it to the FAA. They also have a task force here keeping a very close eye on drones flying in the path of this fire or near the fire at all. They say that they had to ground air support units today because there were drones flying in these restricted areas. They said that there were 4 cases yesterday of drones flying in the direct path of aircraft trying to fight these fires. We also heard from Preston McCollam, Spokane County Prosecuting Attorney. He's imploring the community to think about the risk that they are putting our firefighters in by doing that, by flying those drones. They said if a firefighting aircraft goes down because you're trying to get pictures of the devastation, they said obviously that's certainly not worth it. So in no uncertain terms, they are issuing a warning. Absolutely do not fly any drones in the areas under those temporary flight restrictions as they continue to try to get these fires in our region under control. You can find all of that TFR information on the FAA's website. And again, we will keep you updated on this arson arrest that was made late tonight. We're going to continue to track all of this. Please join us tonight for the night report at 10 and 11 o'clock. Be safe out there. We'll see you soon.